Hey everybody, it's time for another monthly Patreon Q&A video. Before we get started, and before I go and walk the dog at the end of this, I'd like to introduce you to a new friend of Ruby's. His name is Puerco, for obvious reasons. So tell me, Puerco, what are your thoughts on neoconservatism? Really? Interesting. Now, onward to your questions. First one, what's your favorite homonym pair? And for those of you it's been a while since school, homonyms, of course, are words that sound the same, but in fact are different. Like there, and there, which, and so forth. My favorite one is canon and canon. I like them both because, of course, one is a body of work or a set of rules. The other one, of course, is a big, large metal thing that shoots big, horrible bullets and turns people into spinners. If you ever want to not have a great day and want to learn more about the dark underbelly of the Civil War, look up World Civil War spinners. But yes, I like to imagine canon, the actual body of work, as like someone's literary efforts just bursting at you like a cannon. And that makes me happy. Second question, when will Miguel Ruiz return? For those of you who don't know, Miguel Ruiz was a pseudonym I adopted in college. The first production or publication of a on-college literary magazine called Palaver was introduced. And they were looking for writers, and I submitted about 6 to 8 poems, thinking maybe one would get accepted. And turns out they all did. And I was asked by the editor-in-chief at the time, a dear sweet woman who's multi-talented, and you probably read her writing today, called Lily Loofborough, to put a pseudonym on half of them. And I thought, well, I've always had one in the back of my head, which is my middle name in Spanish and my mother's father's last name, Ruiz. Thus, Miguel Ruiz was born. When is he coming back? I don't know. I think when there's a time when I want to tell stories, either stories of my heritage or stories in general about the Mexican experience, I think I'd write in his voice because I'm awfully pocho and often indescribable in ancestry. And I think it would have more of an authentic touch to have Miguel Ruiz speak about, some of the superstitions, some of the unknown, some of the stories of the Mexican Revolution that I've learned and held dear to me. And I think he would be the one to really give life to that. Next question. What's it like to do something and then get conflicting, vague, confusing feedback, leaving you feeling extremely doubtful about your own skills? This is for Anna. And Anna, let me tell you this. It sucks. Happens all the time. If you actually go out there and you make something and you are, God forbid, forced to do the dreaded talk back, you're going to have people who will give you feedback. And they know. They won't come to this with, carefully researched opinions written on paper, sat overnight hemming and hawing about the best articulate way to say this. They'll just say stuff like, that's too long, or why don't you put a monkey in it? People like monkeys, or bullshit like that. Sorry, Jelena, I promise I'd be clean. Or stuff like that. The kids are back, right? Okay. Or things like that. In reality, this is what you should do when you get feedback on any project, artistic or otherwise. If you feel yourself blushing, if you feel yourself either nodding physically or feeling that emotion of, yes, that's exactly what I should do. Or if you feel super defensive and you go, of course, that's what I was trying to say. If you think that, especially if you think that's what I was trying to say, but that feedback's very important. And that feedback means you clearly aren't communicating what's being established. If you think that you're telling a story of courage and bravery and it comes off like you're a horrible, selfish cad, time to reassess. And I think if you really combine those skills of listening to what you feel as the feedback's being given, combined with your own knowledge, you've also reassessed this. You also, if you're lucky, have worked with a team of people who all have their great opinions. And you couple that with some outside observers, hopefully people that you respect, you'll come away with a stronger, better work. Next question. What mushy liquid foods do I like? And this is brought up because another friend of mine is actually about to nurse her poor beloved partner who's getting some teeth work done. Now, I can tell you, I had my gallbladder removed in 2017, and my wife was very, very patient with my extremely whiny, sensitive butt. I had to eat mushy foods for a while, and I started with Jell-O, which is, not always my favorite, but it's a practical one. It could be tasty. But then I moved on to milkshakes, and gosh darn it, do I love milkshakes. I love cookies and cream milkshakes. I love most milkshakes that you can think of, except, of course, like Tutti Frutti milkshakes. Don't even do that, people. I also love peanut butter. Love it. Loved it all my life. Even though I'm technically not supposed to eat it because I have allergies to it, which means you eat enough of it and your tummy hurts. But I will not stop eating peanut butter. I will eat peanut butter with anything. Bread, carrots, a rusty wooden spoon. I think it's beautiful with chocolate. I think they are like wonderful star-crossed lovers who finally get to conceive. So peanut butter and milkshakes. Great. Last question, actually second to last, I lied. Favorite shows on TV? I haven't watched TV as much as I used to. I know that because I have an obsession with TV. I get fascinated with it. I get drawn into stories and how it's all made. If you show any TV in front of me, I will watch it for hours. I know that because when I'm home for the holidays and either it's my sister and her family or my mother-in-law and their family, anything's on. It could be the news. It could be, a bug on the television set. I will stare hypnotically at it, forget the time of day, and be insistent upon learning what happens, start to finish. Garbage Christmas movies were on, and I had to know, how is Steven Weber going to change his ways? If you know that reference from that terrible movie, please write to me, and we have a lot to talk about. Last question, for realsies. If you could get an expert to help you with one thing, what would it be? Well, besides the one I've talked about a lot, which is like an acting career coach, I really would like just to have like a little butler, a little valet, who I would call my perspective butler. And so anytime I was being myself, and I was going, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever, the perspective valet would be very dry and turn to me and shake his head. And then he would say a few words to remind me to put things in perspective. And that would apply to everything, whether it's over-emotionality about situations of being an adult or day-to-day issues or feeling inadequate or feeling like I haven't got enough done with my life. The perspective butler would be there to just quickly just toss it aside and get on to the business of living. Now, my questions for you this month. You know American Pie. I wrote a poem about it for Patreon. Again, if you haven't seen Patreon or seen my Patreon account, it is so gosh darn free, practically. Pennies a day, hundreds of content items. Just $1 a month can get you everything. Not everything. I mean, you can't get world peace and you can't get the secret to, cancer, but you can get so many other things. Just go to patreon.com/Jara, Jara. So with February, and that poem I wrote about American Pie by Don McLean, the first verse has this part that goes, but February made me shiver with every paper I delivered. What makes you shiver in February? Funny, serious, whatever. What makes you shiver in February? Second question. What song sends you right back to when you were 18 years old? Have a great month, guys.